So this week, we are here together. We are gathered here together to talk about the great year of 2011.
2011. I was, oh, wow. I turned 40 that year.
Wow, very nice.
Yeah.
You turned 30, 34. Does that sound right? Yeah, 34.
Why not? Sure. I guess feeling a little down because of the
I was 21.
Brewer game?
The end of the Brewer season?
I'm hurting. I'm hurting. Emotionally. And my innards are all turned up inside out.
He's having some issues.
You couldn't even get dressed
Butt
to
stomach
come to the
issues.
show.
What are you talking about? What's wrong with these?
He looks comfy. Put the comfy pants
I'm
on,
very
boys.
comfy.
It's Sunday night.
Yes.
I'm putting that loss on council.
Okay.
I didn't like his strategy.
You like it?
Really?
Putting Hader in the third inning, that's crazy.
It is.
What if they had got? I don't know. I don't think it came down to pitching decisions. I think it was about not getting runners in, basically, especially in scoring position.
Okay.
I think the fact that we got rid of Jeremy Burnett's hurt. Ever since then, I just haven't thought the team scored well.
Yeah, I'm a big Dave Nielsen guy.
Oh, my God. All right. So we are going to talk about all things pop culture related to 2011. I'm excited for this.
Why are you excited for this,
Because
Jameson?
we're here. We're together. Anytime
we're together?
Anytime we are joined together, I have fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is magic.
Believe that.
We go together like doo-wop, shamalama ding dong.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
How do you feel about these newer shows compared to the older shows?
I think it all depends. I think that 2011 it has some moments in there.
Okay.
I mean, I like the nostalgic look back of.
Yeah, I
further
prefer the
away.
nostalgic look
Me too.
back.
I like.
It's tough to look back and it's like right in your rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Like, I barely passed it.
I enjoy researching when it's a little bit longer.
That's why I'm
ago.
saying we go into the 40s. That's where the real nostalgia lies.
Let's talk about some Mickey Rooney.
That's right. Let's do it. So let's get this bad boy started, shall we?
I think
We shall.
who's going first?
I'm going to get us started this week.
Oh, nice. Taking charge.
Taking charge. Okay, so
Jameson Rabbit.
Right away, my number 10, I'm going to apologize for because it's on my list and I hate it. But my number 10 for 2011 was a musical group called LMFAO.
Nice.
Oh, Red Foo and Sky Blue, the son and grandson of Barry Gordy Jr. Jeff, did you know that?
No, I did not.
These are Barry
I
Gordy
learn a
Jr.'s
lot during these shows.
These are his son and grandson, our LMFAO. So in 2011, they had an album come out that said "Sorry for Party Rocking," and the first single to come off that is "Party Rock Anthem" right here. This was the #1 song in all the land for 6 consecutive weeks, and then they followed that up a few months later with "I'm Sexy and I Know It," which was also shot straight to #1 and stayed there for way too long.
Let's hear that one. Are we hearing it right now?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Wow. You're so seamless
He's
with the music.
intuitive. He's very intuitive.
I didn't even notice that you switched songs.
Yep. So, yeah, LMFAO, they were all about the partying in 2011. I don't know if they're still partying to this day.
For other, I don't know if you want to call them successful. For the purpose of this show, we will. But other successful, comedy music acts, are they up there? I'm trying to think of who else had. What's some other ones? Jeff Robbins, you got to be in on this.
What was the question? You're talking about
Comedy musical.
Are they
acts.
are they considered a comedy musical act?
Don't you think so? Or is it just? Or am I just?
I don't think
Or am
so.
I really that far outside of the joke? That
I don't know. It took me a while to even get on board with who these guys were.
It's not like they're Spinal Tap or Tenacious D, but they're.
I mean, Alan
very much
Sherman
something.
with the "Hello Mother, Hello Father." That was really funny stuff.
Killer stuff right there.
And Ray Stevens, I know Ray.
The Crippler?
Bill Baker just mentioned Ray Stevens on your game the other night.
He did.
The streak.
Yeah. We did have a streaker out on the field.
Was it really a streaker?
It was really a streaker. It looked like
A man or a
jockstrap
male
only.
or a female?
A male. He made it.
Was he totally nude?
Jockstrap only looked like.
Jockstrap
From where I was,
only.
and shoes.
That's my Halloween costume.
Track shoes.
Jockstrap only.
Yeah. I had to avert our camera's zoomed in gaze from catching too much of him. Had to move the camera away. But yes.
So the bottom line here is you do not care for LMFAO.
No, this is not my type of music, but I can't deny that it was huge.
Didn't they do the song "Shots"?
No, that's Lil Jon.
Yeah, there you go.
But didn't Little John do it in collaboration with the LMFAO?
Could be.
Come on, look that up.
Suddenly now you're the LMFAO
Yeah, you're right.
guy?
You're right.
I am the
that.
expert on LMFAO. That is what I'm all about. And I think Shots is fairly explicit, so I don't think you can play that, but I do love that song.
Do you really?
Sure.
Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah. I'm not even.
Nope. We're good.
That's as far
But
as
there you go.
got.
That's my number 10, LMFAO, dominating airwaves around
What do you
the
like
land.
better, LMFAO or Ally McBeal?
I'll take LMFAO.
Oh, very
Really?
nice, yeah.
Oh, come
I certainly
on, man.
would.
Really? Both of you guys are out on Ally McBeal?
I'm not an Ally McBeal fan.
Well, last week we did 1997. That's why this is coming up. But
Yeah.
I guess I'm
and
the
it
only
made
one
my
here.
worst of 97 list.
You had way too much worse than 97.
There was a lot of
It was
a lot
heavy.
of bad.
It was thick.
There was a lot of bad to
It
dig
was a
through.
thick one. We have a caller.
Oh,
We have a caller.
Yeah. This has never happened on the show. You guys want me to go for it?
Sure. You know how to
All right.
work that phone?
Yeah, Jeff, you take over.
Caller, you're on the air.
Oh my God, I can't imagine Jeff Robbins streaking in a jockstrap.
Well, for the right amount of money, Mr. Baker, you don't have to imagine it. All right. Well, you got anything you want to throw in here for 2011 before we continue on?
2011 was a blur for me. That was the year of divorce, and so that's a blur, man. I got nothing.
big blur.
All right. Well,
Big blur.
well, number 6 on my list is Bill Baker's divorce. So there you go.
Oh, there you have it. You might need
So it
longer
works
than
out.
an hour to talk about that.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in.
Oh, you're welcome. Have fun, guys.
All right.
will.
Thanks, Bill.
Well, there you go. Caller on the air. I love it. All right.
How about that?
Let's move on to.
Well, usually we get calls,
Yeah, all the time.
but we don't typically take them.
Nice.
Yeah, very very popular show here.
Very popular.
All right, let's.
Who's
we're-
next?
I think we're 10 minutes into the show and we've done 1 of 30, so let's keep moving.
All right, for my number 10, I'm going with College Radio 2011. I'm not so sure that one of these bands would necessarily fit that, but I'm going with Little Dragon and their song Ritual Union, which you're hearing now. A lot of fun, almost like video game sounds. Really good electric song. And one of my favorite bands covered this song, even though it's only a few years old, but really love that. And then I also have one of my favorite songs by The Strokes that came off of their 2011 album Angles. This is Under Cover of Darkness. These are 2 of my favorite college radio songs, 2 of the best songs of 2011. This wasn't one of my favorite years for music, but these songs certainly made my list at number 10.
All right. I'm
Jeff,
good with that.
you a big Strokes guy?
Lukewarm on the Strokes.
Lukewarm on The Strokes. Jameson, what about you?
Yeah, I like them.
I really love the first album is their best by far, but they still, just like this, 10 years after that, still have some pretty good songs on each album. So not quite what they were when they first came out, but I
Right.
think this is one of their better songs.
Yep, I agree. Jeff is furiously trying to finish up his list.
No, my list is set in stone.
I did now.
My number 10 on my list of 2011 is a film that came out that year, and it was a film called Bridesmaids. And it was a wacky comedy film directed by Paul Feig, written by Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it was it showed that the ladies can be gross too. They can get a bunch of great female comedians together. Your Melissa McCarthy, your Kristen Wiig, your the one from the Goldbergs. I forgot her name.
Wendy McClendon.
Thank you.
Ooh,
Your
also
Maya
Reno
Rudolph.
911.
Your Ellie Kemper, one of my favorites, Ellie Kemper. And hey, they can do sophomoric bathroom humor as well as anybody. It's a very funny movie, and it's one of the better films, I think, in the whole Judd Apatow universe. And it was a big hit.
And it broke out Melissa McCarthy. I mean, she had just started Mike and Molly. She was known for being on the Gilmore Girls, but she got Oscar nominated for Bridesmaids.
She did.
Best Supporting Actress nomination. This also was nominated for Best Original Screenplay. I mean,
It made $288 million worldwide.
it was a.
I'm
chick
surprised there
flick.
hasn't been a Bridesmaid 2. Has there been a Bridesmaid 2?
No, they've been talking about it, but I mean, it was a chick flick crossed with a raunchy guy's bachelor party movie.
There you go.
Yeah, good stuff.
Which one did you prefer, the raunchy or the chick flick?
The chick flick.
You were a chick flick?
Guy. Come on.
I like any movie where the character has a fear of flying, because
Yeah.
I have fear of flying, so it
Okay.
makes me instantly empathetic to that character.
I like any character that has to take a dump in a sink. I'm all about
yeah,
that.
there you go.
Oh, the history of those. That's great.
Under the Giant.
Didn't the movie open with Kristen Wiig's character having relations with John Hamm?
Yeah, and then they broke up, and she stopped baking and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember that was.
Yep.
It was Kristen Wiig being more sexual than I anticipated her being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That Gilly's a very sexy character.
Gilly.
So that's my number 10, the
Okay.
film Bridesmaids. Thank you very much. And now back to the show with Jameson Rabbit.
So my number 9 is putting together a couple of films, 2 movies that took nostalgic looks at Hollywood itself. The first one is Super 8, directed by J.J. Abrams, which is a nostalgic look at the 1980s kids making their own Super 8 film. This was produced by Steven Spielberg and felt like it was an homage to Spielberg's movies, the E.T.s, the what have yous, as these kids are trying to make their Super 8 film, and then aliens show up. And then also Hugo, directed by Martin Scorsese. Hugo was a really tremendous movie that was technical achievement. One of the best 3D films I've ever seen. The cinematography in this movie was incredible. And it was a love story to early cinema, a nostalgia of the 19-teens and 20s cinema. Great cast of Ben Kingsley, Asa Butterfield, Chloe Grace Moretz, Sacha Baron Cohen. 11 Oscar nominations. I loved this movie when it came out. I was very blown away by it.
It was Martin Scorsese's second best movie that year.
Was it?
Yeah.
What else did he have in 2011?
He had the George Harrison documentary.
Okay.
That was that long ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He died in 2001.
Right.
Right.
We did
talked
that
about
show.
that.
We did.
There you go. So
Hugo's a fine film, Hugo.
that's my number 9.
What was the other movie? I haven't seen
Super
Super
8.
8. I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's a good movie.
I heard it was very good.
Yeah, I just talked about it.
On this show? Tonight? J.J.
Moments
Abrams?
ago.
Yep.
Moments ago.
Yeah, I heard it. I was listening. I
When
said
will
it.
then
I just
become now?
haven't seen it.
All right.
Have you seen that movie, Anthony?
I have not. Not seen too many movies.
Let's
from
get some.
2011.
Let's get some Pop-Tarts and go to the Red Box
Oh.
and rent it.
Oh, the
You and me.
the great movie treat, Pop-Tarts.
Yeah. Well, because
I
you
think you're
can't.
popping the wrong thing.
I don't like to eat things that are crunchy when I'm watching TV because or movies because it makes too much noise in my head.
Ah,
So I
too
like
much
to
head
eat-
noise.
Yeah, I like to eat things that are.
Pop-Tarts.
Yeah,
You
like
like things you can gum.
red vines,
Red vines. Yep, absolutely. Okay,
soda pop.
let's let Anthony run into his number 9, chewing soda pop.
My number 9, Jeff Robbins is going to love this because it's sports. But I went with Sports Baloney with Frony. This is cross promotion.
Oh,
Shameless station cross promotion tomorrow, 6 p.m. I got Sports Baloney with Frony. I'm going with the MVPs from Wisconsin, Ryan Braun and Aaron Rodgers. Ryan Braun has not had his MVP taken away, but we know that there's some issue with testosterone levels, and then he fought it with the chain of custody and that whole ordeal. But what a great year 2011 was for the state of Wisconsin. The Packers won the Super Bowl. We talked about 1997 last week. I didn't put the Packers on my list, so I couldn't go 2 weeks without it while with these shows next to each other. Also, Russell Wilson, the best quarterback maybe the Badgers have ever had, was spent his lone year. And then in other sports
Did you say
news,
maybe?
Yeah,
maybe the best?
There's a huge drop off from him to anyone else who's
I was
ever
gonna.
been
I don't know.
under center.
You guys aren't big Jim Storgy guys.
Yeah, no.
Scott
Darryl
Kavanaugh?
Bevel is a far fall from
Yeah.
Russell Wilson.
Mike Samuels.
Yeesh,
Anybody?
gross.
Nothing. Also, Jameson on the wrestling scene, there was CM Punk's pipe bomb. It's called,
Oh,
which
yes.
is a promo that seemingly was not supposed to take place.
Hi, Cole Cabana.
And he got mentioning things, other wrestling promotions, and doing all sorts of taboo things that you're not.
Why are you not doing
supposed to
Facebook
do.
Live tonight?
I don't know, because we don't need it.
Okay.
I couldn't find the stand, actually, and I was too lazy to look for it.
Sorry, Anthony.
But anyway, the promo was picked up by Jim Rome saying that he gave CM Punk an offer to come on his radio show so he could continue saying the things because they cut off his mic during the episode. And Jim Rome hates professional wrestling, but they got him on this one because he thought this was real.
All right.
So I thought that was pretty fun.
Is Jim Rome still a thing? Does he still have
He
the
does
show?
still have
Yeah,
a show.
he-
He's
okay.
later afternoons, though, now.
His market share has shrunk considerably from his heyday.
Yeah, I got tired of him kind of quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I was
if
a
you
fan
want
for
to
a
hear
long
him
time.
beat the same shtick into the ground for 2 hours,
Yeah.
it's a good radio show to listen to.
Right.
If you want to hear him
Yes.
compete, just repeat himself over and over.
I used to really enjoy him.
I did too.
But yeah, enough. I've had my time.
I like that. Ryan Braun. Matt Kemp wants that award. He's waiting for it.
I know. Another sub storyline from this most recent series against the Dodgers.
Screw those guys. Right, Jeff? All right.
Well, when you have a decent manager, a lot of things can happen.
Oh, boo.
Here we go. All right, you're number 9, sir.
My number 9, I've got notable returns on my number 9. Check me out. Here I come, coming at you live. I've got the Muppets. Muppets came back in 2011 with the film called, get this, The Muppets.
Oh, yeah.
Starred Jason Segel and Amy Adams, and a new Muppet character named Walter, trying to get the old gang back together. It was a very, it was great. I mean, I'll say just shy of great. It was a fun movie. It was very self-referential, sort of talked about how the characters had sort of fallen out of favor. They were sort of down on the dumps a little bit. Some music from that film that probably stands up with anything they've done. Life's a Happy Song and Man or Muppet. That's a fun track. So we had the Muppets, and we also had something called, now stick with me, guys, NKOTBSB. You know what that is?
New Kids on the Block. New Kids on the Block. Backstreet Boys.
Yes. We had the New Kids on the Block. Backstreet Boys got together and did a tour in 2011 and also released an album that I think was little more than kind of a compilation of their greatest hits, but with a couple new tracks thrown in there. But we did have, I'm not sure if it was all the Backstreet Boys. I think one of them was missing in action, but we did have.
Oh, I love this song.
But we had all 5 New Kids on the Block, and
Of course you did.
I'm a New Kids on the Block kind of guy, so I was extremely happy to see Jordan Knight and Danny Wood kicking it again, hanging tough, as they say.
Wood, yes.
And the other big return in 2011, kind of out of left field, kind of unexpected, and sort of came and went without anybody really caring too much, I think. The Cars came back together for their first album since 1987 and released an album. Of course, Benjamin Orr had died, but they released an album called Move Like This, and kind of strange, and they came, they did it, and we did a little tour, and then we're gone again.
Yeah, they were.
So that's my number 9, notable returns of 2011, the Muppets, and whatever it was, and the Cars.
So my number 8 is echoes some of what you had for yours. My number 8 is reintroduction of beloved franchises. The Muppets, as you mentioned, comes back in a big way. They introduce new character to follow and introduce the Muppets really to a new generation. I know my kids were in love with the Muppets, and then subsequently Muppets Most Wanted a couple years after that because of this, and it was fun, and it was a loving look at the Muppets. And then also,
was it loving or was it sort of mocking? There was a little mockery in there.
There was some. I think the mockery though was picked up by the adults.
Yeah,
the kids picked up just the Muppets are awesome. And then also for my reintroduction of another beloved franchise, Rise of the Planet of the Apes came out in 2011, which restarted the Planet of the Apes franchise, which had lied dormant for some time. And again, we introduced new characters. James Franco is in here with Jonathan Lithgow. And Caesar is the new hero. And this starts a trilogy, which I would put up there as one of the best trilogies of the new millennium. The Planet of the Apes trilogy, I think, is one of the great trilogies of the last 18 years. I think all of them are great movies. And introduce the world to what Andy Serkis is capable of, to the point where people were saying Andy Serkis should be nominated for Best Actor for the motion cap that he was doing with Caesar's character. I love this first Planet of the Apes movie, and it's I think it's great that it got people interested in a very cool concept of a franchise that Tim Burton had destroyed a few years earlier with Mark Wahlberg. But the Planet of the Apes.
Was that a Tim Burton?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Tim Burton and Mark Wahlberg.
I did not know that.
I did not know that. So there you go.
Weird,
Those are my
wild stuff.
Weird, wild stuff. That's reintroductions of beloved franchises. My number 8.
Very good.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
All right. For my number 8, I'm also talking about some movies. It is more Marvel movies. I have X-Men First Class, Captain America First Avenger, and the Thor movie. I think that Captain America was maybe the best of those first.
Oh, I think it's easy.
Because I really like this one. I don't know. People thought that it was a bit of an in-between movie, but I love the throwback to
that's my
the 1930s and 40s. But
that's
I think
my favorite Marvel movie.
Yeah, I think this one was one of the betters for sure, especially leading up to the first Avengers movie. The Thor movie really wasn't that good. I also love who's the fella from The Matrix and who plays was it Red Skull?
Oh,
The guy who plays Mr. Anderson, and he also is.
I can see his face. Hugo Weaving.
There you go. Thank you. He does a great job. Love him as the villain in that. X-Men First Class is a lot of fun too. This is the first one that really doesn't revolve around mostly Wolverine, or he's not a dominant character.
Yeah, because we're kind of restarting with the younger versions.
And I know some things don't add up with the timeline and aging and stuff like that, but I love Michael Fassbender as Magneto. Such a cool thing, and you really get some of the backstory of when Professor X and Magneto were friends leading up to, because each of them kind of represents Malcolm X and Magneto, and Charles Xavier would be MLK. So and they go back to around that time and kind of mirror some of those things more so in this movie than in the previous films to this. But and it was, like you said, it was kind of a reboot, but also a continuation of the the Bryan Singer. Yeah. So really good stuff. I think it's a darn good Marvel movie, especially compared to Thor. But Captain America and X-Men are darn good, I think.
I noticed you didn't mention Ghost Rider 2 in that.
That is so funny. I didn't even see it listed, but I loved Ghost Rider, the cartoon and comic book, but no, I wasn't touching that one.
Those movies are awful.
Yeah, I can't believe they got a second. That's humorous.
Yeah.
So there you go. More Marvel movies at number 8.
There you go.
I'm doing an Audible on my list for program flow.
But it's been set in stone for so long.
Well, but you have to be flexible.
All right, go for it.
You have to be prepared, but you have to be flexible to sort of see what comes and
We're
go
only
with the
getting
flow.
6 things done today. I bet.
We are. What do you got, number 8?
My number 6. I'm sorry, 6. So you said 6.
Yeah.
I was also thinking about.
That's how we get this show done quick.
I was thinking about Blossom.
Who isn't?
I have more Marvel movies too for my number 8, which was not going to be number 7, but I'm moving up to number 8.
All right.
I don't understand, Jameson. I'm going to come to you as the film expert in the room.
Sure.
Okay, Anthony, I'll come to you.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm good.
There's something called the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah. Right. In the world.
And I don't think X-Men is part of that universe.
No, because it's a Fox movie.
They're separate.
Yeah.
But
Spider-Man.
But it's Marvel Comics, but the movie franchise is owned by Fox, but now owned by Marvel, because Disney just bought Fox.
Yes.
So now the X-Men are in the Marvel universe.
So if I was taking a Disney cruise tomorrow, I might see some X-Men films on the
You might
cruise.
see some X-Men film and some Fantastic Four films.
So my number 8 here, I'm only including 2 films, and Anthony just talked about both of them, Thor and Captain America First Avenger. And I'm actually quite pleased to hear the positivity surrounding Captain America, because I would agree. I think that is, if not, certainly one of my favorite Marvel films, if not my most favorite. I
think the Captain America films are the best of the Marvel movies.
I don't know why that is.
Favorite.
I
He's
can't,
my least favorite.
Yeah, I can't separate like this one and Winter Soldier. I think is great because they're totally different movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A war movie, an espionage movie. I think they're the most well done, and I think that they turn the plot for all of the Avengers movies. I think are all done through the Captain America stories.
I think what I like about this one in particular, because I'm a little bit of a curmudgeon. I'm kind of old guy. Get off my lawn kind of guy.
Absolutely.
And I like that First Avenger is. It seems for a superhero movie, this sounds silly to say, but it seems most grounded in reality. Because because of the war backdrop and and
I think he's a regular guy for most of the movie.
And I'm looking at that movie and I'm like, Chris, how did they do that? He's so scrawny, and now then he's
that CGI.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Flawless.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So I enjoy. And who's the lead actress?
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans. Yeah.
Oh,
No, actress.
Actress.
She was also on the
Agents
short-lived
of
ABC show,
She was on the
Agent Carter.
Agent Carter.
She's very good.
Can't pull her name.
But Thor, I have a hard time. I have a harder time with Thor. I can't say I dislike the movie, but
Haley
it's just
Atwell.
Yes.
sure. There you
Yes,
go, Haley
yes.
Atwell. Thank you. Very nicely done.
I don't like
I
the
think-
first 2 Thor movies at all.
I find them a little silly, I guess, more or
Yeah.
less.
I
I
think
like
they're
Natalie
silly and
Portman
they
just
take themselves
fine.
very seriously.
Yeah.
Thor is my favorite comic book character of the
Yeah.
4, but I think his movies have been bad. Other than the most
But I love
recent one,
what's his name, Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very good.
he's
I like
very
him.
good.
Yeah.
But Captain America is my least favorite. But I agree, it
The
has
movies
had
have
the
done
best
so well.
movies so far.
Yeah.
Isn't that odd?
Although Thor Ragnarok was tremendous. Once they finally let
agree.
him.
I don't think I've seen that one yet.
It's great.
That one, it's on.
Really?
Netflix
What's the
too.
number 2? The
It's-
Ice Storm or the
There's
Iceman?
Dark World.
The Dark World.
Yeah.
Okay.
But 3, Ragnarok
It's
is
a
really
whole
good 'cause
different movie. It's hilarious.
It takes a lot of the things from Hulk versus Thor, and Hulk has a
It's
solid role. So
well worth it.
I should check that out.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is my number 8.
Okay.
Captain America: First Avenger, which I love, and Thor, which I think is a pleasant diversion.
I like it.
it's a bummer, man.
It's a
what?
bummer, man. My number 7 then is TV debuts, and I have 2 television shows that I really enjoy the debut that year. The first one is an animated show called Bob's Burgers, a television show that follows the Belchers: Bob, Linda, Tina, Jean, and Louise. I remember when this was debuting. It's a Sunday night program. You'd have, after the NFL football, stay tuned for Bob's. After 60 Minutes, Bob's Burgers. And I was not on board with it at first. Like, it just seems kind of hokey. And then I fell in love with it. I think it's gotten progressively better and better and better, where I'd watch it every week now.
Can I jump in? And I have basically the same mirror your sentiment that I had no care right away. But as things went on and it goes on Netflix, I think this is hilarious.
Yeah.
And Tina is such a great character.
Yeah, Tina and Jean just kill me. They're dynamic. I think they're hilarious, and they have so many just depressing things that they go through for kids.
I don't think there's ever been a film or a television program with the word Bob in the title that hasn't been good.
Yeah. Big what about Bob guy, huh?
What about Bob?
Bob Evans. Delicious. Anyways.
Macaroni and cheese.
So Bob's Burgers, I love. I highly recommend it if you've been hesitant in getting into it. And then also in 2011, we had a television show debut on HBO, Game of Thrones. Kind of changed the whole genre. Took a successful book series and launched it into something that people just became absolutely obsessed with. To the point where it got more successful than the books were, as they superseded the books in both what they were doing and in popularity. Introduced some really insane characters and some insane situations. I mean, it opens up. I mean, episode 1, we got incest in it right away. We're killing kids and we're having incest.
HBO.
Here's your
just
show,
known
guys.
for it. Yeah.
I love it.
It's not the first.
In classic HBO fashion, like they did with Sopranos, now sometimes you have to wait up to 2 years for the next season to come out, which just builds anticipation. I really dig these. I'm way behind on them right now, but I dig them. Once I lost HBO, I fell behind. But Game of Thrones.
Don't you have the HBO to go?
I have someone's password that I use.
Oh, don't say that out. Don't say that on the air.
You want me to delete that?
Yeah, it's my wife's password, guys. What's the big deal?
Oh, that's perfectly fine.
Get over it. Yeah. So, anyways, those are mine. You like Game of Thrones, Jeff?
Is that your? I thought you had 3.
No, I had 2.
Oh, okay. I to be honest with you, I have the first season on Blu-ray and I have not watched it.
Okay.
A little scared to get into it because I've heard it's very complicated. I'm not that bright.
It is. My problem was I started watching it on Blu-ray. I borrowed it from Mike Roth. He lent me the first couple seasons to get into it, and that was great because you're rolling through them.
Sure.
And then I hit season 3. We're waiting for it. By the time it came, I needed a roadmap to get back to where everything was.
Right.
Because it's dense and there's characters that show up and disappear for a while and a lot of weird relationships. So. Danude, you like Game of Thrones? You into that?
I haven't gotten into it yet. It's not that I don't like it. I know that I do. I've seen the first 5 or 6 episodes a few years ago, but I just failed to continue.
Sure.
And it's been such a big deal. I'm always lame when something's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can see like a one-man play and be like and get lost with the characters.
What's this guy's motivation?
What's this? Who's this guy?
He
Again?
walked off the stage and came back. Who's this new guy? All right, there you go. That's my number 7.
All right, it's on me for number 7. I am talking about my favorite album of 2011, also one of my favorite live albums of all time. I'm talking about Modest Yahoo, Live at Stubbs 2. This is recorded in Austin, Texas. Modest Yahoo is a Orthodox Jewish fella from New York, and he just loves reggae music, and you just can't stop him. I loved the first Live at Stubbs, was my favorite at the time, and I thought he could do no better. Comes back with Live at Stubbs 2. This time he takes Dub Trio as his backing band. I don't know if you've heard of Dub Trio, but they're all amazing at what they do, the guitar, bass, and drums. But while they're playing live shows, they also each have synthesizers and different programmers and drum machines, and so it's more than just your classic, guitar, bass, and drums. These guys are extremely talented. So this was great because it's one of my favorite reggae artists of the last decade or so, mixed with one of my favorite bands, doing a show together. And this is, like I said, one of the best live albums. Really, check this out if you're into reggae at all. He does some amazing stuff with his voice. He can change it and do all sorts of different tones and weird stuff. He raps, he sings, he does it all. And he even takes some kind of Middle Eastern music and throws it in there as well. So one of my favorites, Modest Yahoo, Live at Stubbs. Live at Stubbs 2.
Nice, I like it.
It's very good album.
Yeah, Jeff's probably got this higher though.
Yeah. This is one.
All right, Jeff, you're doing research. What are we doing?
My turn?
Yep.
My number
7.
I changed the order,
so go to number 8. Bring it back up.
I'm doubly confused. Is my mic still on? My number 7 is the deaths of. Let's bring it down. Can I get some somber music
A
here?
little more somber than this.
Deaths of 2011, and we're talking. I'm gonna talk about the biggest and the baddest.
Mm-hmm. You better have one of them on here that I'm thinking of.
Clarence Clemens died in.
Oh, big man goes up top.
Yeah, Clarence Clemens died in 2011, and for a Springsteen fan like myself, kind of mixed feelings. Obviously,
You wanted him dead?
well,
What part of you didn't want him dead?
Mixed feelings.
for the the last couple of concerts I'd seen with Mr. Clemens in the band, it was clear that he was not well.
Okay.
And there was, I guess,
you wished him dead.
and I said a spite onto you, Mr. Clemens.
Right, obviously.
Ever since you did that song with Jackson Brown.
Yep.
What the hell am I listening to right now?
It'll get to you when you get down your list, hopefully.
Okay.
I hope so too.
This is Amy Winehouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not on my list.
Cold-blooded.
So I'm talking about Clarence Clemens,
Yes,
and he's
please.
playing Amy Winehouse. Okay, perfect. It makes perfect sense. Okay, so Clarence Clemens died in 2011, and he had obviously been of ill health. He had to sit during the last couple of concerts I had seen. So it was clear that he was not doing particularly well. But obviously, overwhelming sadness was the main emotion, because when you think about Springsteen, if you see Springsteen live, that's his onstage foil. What was that?
I'm putting it together. This is the guy from the video with Courtney Cox, and he has the
Exactly.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. That's
He's
one
the
of
guy that hand
that's the
claps.
best. Yeah.
He's the best hand clapper in the business.
He really is.
Bro.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
And the cover of the iconic cover of Born to Run, it's just Bruce and Clarence, hanging on each other, and he always got the in the band introductions, always got the last introduction, always got the biggest cheer from the band. And what's that? There are a lot of things in my mind that set the E Street Band sound apart from other bands, but number one is probably the sound of the big man's saxophone. So it was a sad day, but his Jay Clemens, his son, carries on. Or maybe it's his nephew. I think it's his nephew.
Okay.
Also in 2011, speaking of big men, Heavy D from Heavy D and the Boys passed on.
Now that we found love, what are we going to do with it?
Yes.
That's a question I've never been able to answer.
And also, Steve Jobs died in 2011.
Steve Jobs?
No, I call him Jobs.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I prefer
You're very
Jobs.
biblical with it.
Yeah.
But don't forget about Uncle Leo, passed away in 2011.
And, of course, what can be said about Mr. Jobs that we need to talk about? He's changed all of our lives, created so many freaking gadgets, as the old people say, gidgets and gazmos.
Right.
That have broken up the family structure and the very
Good.
It's led
It's led
of
to so many fights in my house.
American society.
Put that down. Although thanks to him, I have things to take away from my kids now. I'll take that away from you. You'll put that phone down.
Do you actually do it, or are you just all?
For like the
Are you
night
all
till I need-
steaming?
Until I need them to have a phone.
Yeah.
Take your phone. I need to get hold of you.
And then also, a fictional character died in 2011, and that was Breaking Bad's Gus Fring. Literally got his face blown clean off.
Yeah. Who didn't? Yeah, you didn't see that coming.
And viewers of Better Call Saul, of course, are seeing the revival of Mr. Gus Fring. So that is my number 7 on my list. You got your Clarence Clemens, You got your Heavy D, you got your Steve Jobs, and you got your Gus Fring. Deaths
There's
of 2011.
two deaths that are conspicuous in their absence for me.
Amy Winehouse is the first.
Yeah,
for sure.
The other one is, ooh yeah,
Yeah, that's a big one.
the Macho Man himself.
I had to give you guys something to talk about.
All right. Is it number 6 for me now?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
All right, tis. My number 6 is all about 2011 was the worst Academy Awards telecast of all time. We bring in James Franco and Anne Hathaway to host the Oscars, trying to skew young. Let's get some of these young audiences. And first off, the two of them were mismatched. And right away, James Franco looked like he was a deer in headlights, like he was terrified. Jeff left. He doesn't want anything to do with this.
Speaking of deer in headlights,
He won't stand for it. This was his favorite. I won't stand. Whoa, get the big bottle.
It's still on DVR. He's working on getting
Yeah,
there.
don't tell me these results yet. Franco looked like he was terrified.
You guys
of
talking about the red
what he
zone?
was doing. Yeah. And then he left for a while and came back, and it was very obvious that he was stoned because he suddenly was giggling and his eyes were all the classic signs of a Franco stoning. Suddenly he wasn't scared. He was just not present at all.
I'm waiting for someone to stone Dave.
Oh man, and Anne Hathaway, she made up for it by being way too overenthusiastic and almost fake in her trying to make up for his lack of energy, and it was hard to watch. It was a great year, a great telecast for movies, but the telecast itself was slow and uneven and horribly unfunny.
What won Best Picture?
The Artist. So you have a silent film winning. It was all around bad. It's pretty much roundly received as the worst Oscars telecast ever. And then the next year they tried to change it up and go with Eddie Murphy. That failed at the last minute because Brett Ratner got in trouble and took Eddie left with him.
When was the last time Billy Crystal did it?
That year. He stepped in. Billy Crystal stepped in at the last minute.
Oh, because Eddie Murphy never actually
Eddie
did
Murphy
it.
bailed when
right.
Brett Ratner got fired. And they panicked and like, okay, you know what? Last year was a big bomb because we went with these young kids. So let's go with the old guard. Let's get the old man back in the seat. Get the shoe polish out. Let's make this happen.
What year did Steve Martin and Alec Baldwin do it? Was that before Franco?
I believe it was the year before. Okay. Yeah, and I liked that year.
I did too.
I actually really liked that. But the 2011 telecast, no bueno.
How do you feel about Billy Crystal in general?
I mean, overall,
Yeah, overall.
take him or leave him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's things of his I enjoy, and there's things that just irritate me.
I like him less and less as I get older.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm a big America's Sweethearts. Is that right?
That's John Cusack.
Uh,
Does he in that?
Forget Paris?
no.
When
It's
Harry
around
Met
the same
Sally?
time.
Is Forget Paris the one where he's an NBA ref?
Yeah, I thought that was actually pretty good. Did you?
I saw that movie. Went on a date with that movie. Yeah,
Didn't you take your wife to that movie?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think I've heard that story.
Yeah, could be. Anyways, there you go. That's my number 6. Number 6.
All right, for my number 6, I'm going with the movie Moneyball.
Mm-hmm.
This is Brad Pitt as Billy Beane, the general manager of the Oakland Athletics, deciding to. It's based on the book, also called Moneyball, I believe, and it follows Billy Beane doing what he does and going a different approach to being a general manager and running a baseball team. I thought this is it's a solid movie. It wasn't my favorite. Some of the depictions were fun for me, and then seeing like baseball players as other baseball players, like Royce Clayton, a former Brewer National,
Former Brewer, everyone.
right? Yeah, and everybody was playing Miguel Tejada and little things like that. There's major stuff that was left out of this book, out of the movie, and some of the book too. But they had like 3 Cy Young candidates: Tim Hudson, Barry Zito, Mark Mulder. The most important part of the team, I would say, by far. They're not even depicted in the film, if I'm not mistaken, and they certainly don't have major actors playing them. But none of the story revolves around Hudson, Zito, and Mulder, who were a huge deal in making the Athletics kind of the perennial playoff contenders that they were. So I thought that was a big slight by leaving all 3 of those out. It was very weird. But number 6, I got Moneyball. What did you guys think of Moneyball?
I enjoyed the movie. I think it was a really good Brad Pitt role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah. Yeah, he was great.
He's always great.
Yeah.
Chris Pratt is solid. I think it has some good performances, but just as a baseball fan, it just seems very weird that you would leave out
Yeah, I
these
agree.
3 guys.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
Missing pieces.
That was.
Moneyball?
Yeah,
Never seen
we're
it.
the Hudson, Zito, and Mulder of
I think
Sun Prairie Rito.
Jameson seems frustrated with me tonight.
I'm not sure
You're
where you
killing
are.
me.
I'm not
You're
sure where you
killing
are.
me. I love it.
What's up?
Nothing.
I thought I was the biggest mess walking into the station today.
I'm perfectly fine.
All right. What do you have at number 6, Jeff?
You should wear your pretzel
Sweatpants?
pants.
Yeah.
Oh, those are pretzel pants?
Pretzels,
Did you see
peanuts,
the
and beer.
Pretzels and beer. Oh, peanuts. I didn't see those.
On a nice fleece.
Well, you wouldn't wear those out to like like you're not going to the Rock after this.
Let's hit the Rock after
Let's
this.
do it. That
I
sounds
will-
like a dare.
Jeff Robbins, bring it on. Let's go get some cheese curds.
I have my number 6 on the list. I have two great bands that broke up in 2011. REM called it quits in 2011 after the release of their 15th album.
About 8 years too late.
Wow, you are really negative.
Generous.
No, I oh sure. I mean, had REM hit its peak earlier, of course, but what year Automatic for the People come out? That was like 93, 4.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
For me, that was probably their peak album.
Automatic for the People is 92.
Oh.
Holy crap! It makes me feel
Well,
old.
it didn't make it here until 93.
Right? Yeah. It was embargoed in Sun Prairie until 93. But yeah, I mean, it just the seminal college band that makes it big, right? I mean, I remember. I didn't see it live, but seeing in reruns, they made their network television debut on Letterman, and Michael Stipe just seemed incredibly awkward. It was like, how can this guy possibly become a pop star or a rock star? He couldn't even look at the camera or really look away from the floor. But just the music from Murmur on was fantastic. Some of my favorite songs, Don't Go Back to Rockville and South Central Rain, and then you get into the Life's Rich. I mean, you get into, what was the big hit? Out of Time. Well, even before that, Document was a big hit. That had The One I Love and It's the End of the World. And I love Out of Time, Radio Song, and Lose My
Happy
Religion.
People.
I don't like that one as quite as much. Country Feedback's a great song. And yeah, they broke up 2011. Maybe a little late, but
Let's talk about
a lot of other bands have outlived their usefulness.
Nope, they're the only one.
by a lot.
Sorry.
By a lot worse. and then Beastie Boys broke up in 2011. Maybe not planning to break up, but they did actually release their last album in 2011, and that was Hot Sauce Committee Part 2. Part 1 never came out, but Part 2 came out, and of course Adam Yauch died of cancer in 2012. And as far as I know, and Anthony maybe knows because he's the music genius, I don't think they've gone on to do anything collaborative, the other two guys.
Not that I've seen.
So yeah, I mean, when I think of high school, I think a lot of things, most not pleasant. But I think of License to Ill. I think of Document. Those were two of the biggest albums when I was during my high school years. Mm-hmm. And 2011, yeah, saw the end of these two great, groundbreaking, trailblazing, earth-shaking, air conditioner breaking, Viagra taking American bands.
I like it.
There you go. That's my number 6.
Freestyling on us.
that was your third breakup at number 6.
What was my other breakup?
You said Bill Baker, number 6.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
and
it
then
is your number 6. It's pretty good. My number 5 is about some albums as well. Mine is focuses on two what felt like very personal albums. The first one is much, much bigger than the second one, but Adele had an album come out entitled 21 because she was 21 years old. It was about breakup and love lost she had gone through just before making this album. This turned out to be one of the biggest albums ever created. It spent 24 consecutive weeks at number 1. It was the best-selling album of 2011 and of 2012, both years. It won 7 Grammys. It produced songs like "Rollin' in the Deep," "Someone Like You," "Set Fire to the Rain," "Rumor Has It."
rumor has it.
There you go. Thank you. And is the best-selling album, the best-selling Billboard charted album since 1985, when Thriller was dominating charts. Just massive, right? I mean, you can't avoid this. Everyone and their mother literally had this album playing on their iPod Shuffle in 2011. And another album, which is actually my favorite album of 2011, that was another very personal one. It was the debut of a group called the Civil Wars. Barton Hollow was their debut album. Joy Williams and John Paul White. These two, their music, this album and their second album before they broke up, you can feel the love and the tension between the two of them, and it is palpable and it is personal. And sometimes it feels like they're writing great love songs to each other, and sometimes it feels like they're writing about how much they can't stand the other person. And it won 2 Grammys and produced 2 of my favorite songs of theirs, Barton Hollow and Poison and Wine. Poison and Wine is just a tremendous song, just beautiful folk rock, personal stuff. They have just beautiful harmonies together. And unfortunately, they broke up in 2014 after 2 albums. Like, this was my favorite group for a couple of years. Like, give me more of this. They have a live sessions album, which they do a cover of Billie Jean that is tremendous. I love it. So 2 very personal albums. One that was much more successful than the other. But that's my number 5.
Good stuff.
Do you listen to these albums with headphones and
I do.
The lights off?
Yeah. This is when I would need a good
maybe
cry.
Maybe a bottle of wine and
Yep. I stare in the mirror
picture of Anthony in his pretzel pants.
Staring in the mirror, and you're stupid. You're so stupid. Yep. There you go.
Was that your number 5?
Yeah.
Who started this? You
Jason did.
Yeah, okay.
We're starting number 5.
Great.
Right on time.
This show works like clockwork.
It really does.
No thanks to me.
All right, Danu, what do you have?
I got horror TV. I'm going with Black Mirror and American Horror Story. 2 of the better horror shows. I guess I can't name much more than these 2 of the decade, but Black Mirror is the one I prefer of the 2. A lot of good episodes on there. I just watched the first one last night, where a British Prime Minister is, I guess, maybe the princess is kidnapped and he has to have sex with a pig on live television.
Yeah. It's a good one.
So you might want to check that one out. And some of the further seasons down the line had the USS Callister, which was an award-winning episode that really turned me onto the show just a month or 2 ago. So I've recently got into this, but I really like Black Mirror.
Yeah.
And then American Horror Story. This one is like, they want to get you excited and then show you gross stuff, and it's every season revolves around a different place, and it's got a lot of different celebrities. I know you're a big Chaz Bono guy, Jeff Robbins, but also Kathy Bates, Angela Bassett, Jessica Lange, Lady Gaga, Cuba Gooding Jr., the singer of Maroon 5. I mean, there's all sorts
Lady
of
Gaga
cameos.
won an Emmy for being in this.
And she did 15, 20 episodes, and she was really good. This is where I was first.
She won Best Supporting Actress Emmy.
Yeah, this is where she began to like win me over, and not that I disliked her, but I was like, oh, there's a lot of good entertainment there.
Yeah.
And then I think her version of the national anthem before Super Bowl a few years ago also, I was like, all right.
Jessica Lange is great in this show.
Jessica Lange is great.
Jessica Lange has barely aged, I'm convinced, in the last 40 years.
That's fair.
She's only aged about 8 years.
Heard Melanie Griffith.
Well, Melanie Griffith's had a lot of help. She looks like a different person. Jessica Lange is, you go back 30 years ago, and she barely looks like she's aged.
You guys get into either of these shows? I liked the season of American Horror Story that was in the hotel. I thought that was one of their better seasons. I'm not a avid watcher of this. Like I said, I like Black Mirror better, but
Was that on the AMC?
American Horror Story?
Yeah, where'd you get that?
That was a Fox or FX.
Was it?
It's FX?
FX.
Yeah.
At least, I believe, originally. But
I only watched the first season of American Horror Story. Black Mirror, I have been getting in and out of. I've had about 20 people tell me that, for my taste in what I consume, that it is 100% right up my alley.
Yeah,
and
because your favorite show is
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone.
And so I've kind of jumped
But only the Forrest Whitaker
jumped
version.
in and out of different episodes. I just have to find time to really delve fully into it. I think I've watched maybe 6 or 8 episodes in total so far. Yeah.
There you go. Good stuff. I like that.
Oh, good stuff, Jeff.
Hey, I'm going to talk about 2 albums here in my
Transitions are amazing.
in my number. What do you want?
Nothing.
So if you want transitions, you want segues, you want seamlessness, I'm going to talk about 2 people that were just mentioned. I'm going to talk about these are sophomore albums by female artists. Important female
I know
artists.
what one of them is.
One of them is 21 by Adele, which my friend Jameson Rabbit just discussed. I said earlier I'm kind of an old curmudgeon, and so something's got to be pretty good for me to, musically speaking. I'll say, yeah, this new stuff, what the kids are listening to, it's not as good as, Smokey Robinson.
Right. New things are.
Yeah. But this is pretty good, this Adele. And like you said, a lot of people bought it.
Yeah.
A lot of people liked it.
Yeah.
I think the Rolling in the Deep is a personal favorite. And
That's my favorite, too.
And I also like The Rumor Has It. This song, not as much. But, it was a big hit. And also, Mr. Dunu just mentioned, so this was her follow-up to 19, as you said. A remarkable maturity for somebody 21 years old. It's pretty incredible. And then also, 2011, speaking of Lady Gaga, was the release of her second album called Born This Way, which we haven't talked about yet. Had a lot of great songs. Edge of Glory, of course, the title track. And Edge of Glory, oddly enough, featured one of the last recorded, if maybe not the last recorded, saxophone solos by Clarence Clemens.
Oh,
did you know that?
Coming full circle.
Yeah. See, talk about
everywhere.
transitions. It all comes together here. It's like an episode of Seinfeld. Everything comes together at the end.
Does.
So yeah, big fan of the Lady Gaga. Debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. Sold over 1 million copies in its first week. It was her first number 1 album. Highest first week total since The Massacre by 50 Cent, who makes a damn good vodka. So there you go. And also, have you had 50 Cent's vodka?
I've had Adele's vodka. It's much better.
Oh, gee.
50 Cent was here signing his bottles of vodka.
He was.
a
Go
year
to
or two ago.
Woodman's and meet him.
Yeah.
He was, yeah. I don't know. I'm probably more impressed with Adele, this particular album, than Born This Way, but both came out in 2011, and of course Lady Gaga is hot right now, thanks to A Star Is Born.
Yeah.
And
Talking about an
well
Oscar
deserved. Very good in that movie.
She's getting close to an EGOT if she gets that.
But she doesn't have the T, right? Is that the one she's missing? She got the E.
Yep, she
She
got
got
the
the
Grammy.
G. What did she win the Grammy for? Is it here on my list of things? She probably won the Grammy for this album.
Most likely.
Well,
But yeah,
I'll come back to
she
that.
just has to go on stage and get the Tony. That's the easy
I
one.
don't think she won a Grammy for this. I thought she was nominated for 3 Grammys.
Nominated for 6 in 2011.
No, the fact that Jameson has this on her on his tongue probably means something for a later thing. But
Pretty sure she's got herself a Grammy, guys.
Good job, Jeff.
another good REM song is "Can't Get There From Here." That's a
Ooh,
good
I
song.
just typed in Gaga Grammy. That's not something you want to type into your Google search.
Okay.
Yikes.
So yeah,
I'm
that's
on a watch list now.
So that is my number 5 sophomore albums by important female singer-songwriters,
like
Adele and Born This Way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Grammys. She's been nominated for 19, and she's won 6.
Really?
Yes, she has 6 Grammy Awards. Yep. 19 nominations and 6 wins. There you go.
She's a winner.
That seems hard to believe.
A Star Is Born.
Well, let's see. Let's look it up, huh? Yeah. Telephone won a bunch of them. Bad Romance won some. Music videos of the songs won 8 accolades at the MTV Video Music Awards. How about that? How's that?
Justice.
All right, I'm going to get in. You look it up now because I'm moving on to my number 4. Is that where we're at, number 4? Number 4. Oh, buddy. Number 4, 2011. One man dominated the airwaves with his shenanigans and tomfoolery. In 2011, Charlie Sheen went over the edge. Charlie Sheen was #winning all year long. 2011 began with a trip to the ER for a possible overdose while he was hanging out with a bunch of porn stars, and somehow it only got crazier after that. He started doing interviews with basically anyone who would call him. He would sit down and do an interview, and they were progressively more and more insane. He started the phrase "winning." He
Tiger blood.
At one point, he was standing on the roof of a building, drinking tiger blood, quote unquote, and swinging a machete over his head. He was full on crazy. He started a standoff with show creator of 2.5 Men, Chuck Lorre, that ended in Chuck Lorre finally just firing him because he would show up just coked out of his mind. Charlie Sheen would show up coked out of his mind. I mean, and this was a show where he was getting paid, what, $1 million a week? And he got himself fired. And that wasn't the worst part. Then he decided to take his act on tour and start going around and doing venues around the country, and a really loose idea of what he was going to do, because he just kind of threw it together and was just showing up and being rambling and often incoherent out there, and it wasn't the most well received. His year went it went off the skids fast, and it went hard. And then in 2012, he sobered up and said, "Boy, that was crazy, wasn't it? 2011 was a wild trip, wasn't it, guys?" Just weird. Classic Charlie Sheen year, though, 2011. That guy.
That is wild. Wild
He is.
stuff.
It is weird, wild stuff. So that's Charlie Sheen for you. You looking up this Grammy stuff yet, or what?
What do you got for us, Jeff?
I moved on.
Okay, very good.
Well, speaking of moving on to my number 4, and it's my favorite pop song of 2011. This is the Black Eyed Peas, Just Can't Get Enough. I think this is their best song. They got a couple other good ones. There's one with Justin Timberlake I really enjoyed, but this single was released February 18th of 2011. They did this video in Tokyo just a few days or a week before the disaster with the earthquake and the tsunami. And it's kind of like a Neo-Tokyo fast-paced video, if you've ever seen it. But I can't get enough of this song. This is one of my guilty pleasures for pop songs. And in 2011, this was my go-to. And now the whole world knows how much I love this song. I think this is great stuff.
What makes it a guilty pleasure to you? I don't think it's that bad.
You don't think it's that? Because there was a while where I was really sick and fed up with the Black Eyed Peas.
For sure.
Probably a year or two before this.
Yeah.
It's really when it seemed everything they did was all over the place.
Fergie specifically was getting tough to deal with.
Yeah, we did the Fergie-licious. I feel like we did that maybe a few shows ago. And these guys are just everywhere, and I think Let's Get It. They had a couple songs that was actually number 1 in the world.
Yes, the world.
The world. I just think this is a fun song, a good dance song. It's got a complete switch up. They even say that in the middle of the song, and it basically becomes a different song. Mm-hmm. But I was so sick and fed up with the Black Eyed Peas, I'm like, I will never like anything by them. And then this comes out, and you're like, okay, well, maybe I just don't need to tell anybody about it.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. That's the one where you're cranking it and you pull up to a stoplight and you turn it down.
Yeah. What is this garbage? No, but I think this is great. I love this song.
Yeah, I agree.
I love the Black Keys too.
Yep.
I don't feel guilty about it at all.
Don't do it.
They performed at the 2011 Super Bowl.
Yes, they did.
I thought they were god awful personally.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I think the Packers won, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. Well.
No, I'm just kidding.
Just commenting
Yeah, it
on
wasn't
halftime.
good. I know, I agree. There's been
They had the
that I like.
monitors on their heads, the backup dancers projecting Will.i.am's face.
Some of those stuff they had in
I said,
in
bring back the
video
aging rock
are
stars.
from this video.
Yeah.
Some of the weird head stuff they had on was from this video. Or, I mean, they would use it in the video a
It
month
made
later.
me want Up With People back on the stage.
I decided to bring back the aging rock stars. Where I was confused was that Born This Way did not win any Grammys.
Okay, that didn't, but she won 6.
She's won 6 in the past.
Yes.
Well, 5 of them came before Born This Way, and then she won 1 for her collaboration with Tony Bennett.
Okay. 2009, wasn't that a huge year for Lady Gaga? That's when she really just took over, it seemed.
She had a poker face around that time.
That's right.
Yep.
Some great remixes of that.
There you go. Okay. That was your number, what, 4?
Yep.
All right.
Something happened in 2011 that is my number 4, which is kind of odd because we're talking about 2011.
That's very fortuitous.
Right here on Pop Culture Time Capsule on 103.5 FM WLSP LP, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. It is the top of the hour. Thank you for listening. Back in the day, if you wanted to watch March Madness, also known as the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament,
Heard of it.
you tuned to your local CBS affiliate.
Yep.
And your local CBS affiliate would have chosen.
You're going to watch Providence.
You're going to
versus
see
Mizzou.
Valparaiso. You're going to see those Western Kentucky lumberjacks, whatever the hell they're called, the Hilltoppers.
Hilltoppers.
Is that what they are?
I don't know.
Who cares?
We're not playing it.
And if it's a good game, we'll stick with it. If it's a bad game, we'll switch it to something else.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2011, the NCAA and CBS and Turner reached an agreement that forever would change how we watch March Madness. Now you can watch every game if you want. If there's a game, you don't have to worry about, oh, if that game's on my local affiliate, I want to see that matchup. You can turn on your True TV, turn on your TBS, turn on your TNT, turn on your CBS, and every single game televised, no additional costs other than, of course, your cable subscription over however you get your games.
Not playing on KSUN, though, and that's the only channel I watch.
We air them, we just don't tell anybody.
Oh, okay, very good.
What's the Roku situation on that?
We do it under the table with running commentary by Bill Baker and Jameson Rabbit.
Oh, you almost got me. Okay.
But anyway, so I used to work at a CBS station, and it was a lot of fun every year to get the game assignments and look through them and analyze them and say, oh, maybe we should switch to this game, and we're going to ask for a change.
The nation loves Tulsa. Let's go with them.
And then there was one year where CBS screwed up, and they thought UW Milwaukee and UW the Badgers are playing at the same time, and they thought UWM meant UW Madison, so they gave us the UW Milwaukee game.
Sweet.
So that was a mix-up, but so. It maybe is probably better for your fan to be able to watch all the games, but kind of as I like the NFL Red Zone, I sort of like the just watching CBS and just seeing the buzzer beaters cutting, especially the first couple of rounds, going from game to game and whipping around, as they say in the business. But
look at the inside lingo.
But 2011 changed how we watch the greatest sporting event of modern times, the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and that's my number 4.
I'd give that to WrestleMania. All right, my number 3. My number 3 has to do with, look, everything's movies from here on out, boys. So just buckle in. We're talking movies. Number 3 is 2011 was known for one thing in movie business: sequel madness.
That was 2012.
2011 was all sequels all the time. Your top 9 movies at the box office at the end of the year were all sequels in a franchise. You had Harry Potter 7, Transformers 2, Twilight 4, Hangover 2, Pirates of the Caribbean 4, Fast 5, Mission Impossible 4, Cars 2, Sherlock Holmes 2. That's your top 9 movies at the box office. Nothing original. No original content for you. Number 10 was Thor. So I would argue that the top 10 movies, pretty rough. But it was
rough in what sense?
In that there was nothing original. It's all sequels, and most of them are terrible. I don't Transformers 2, Twilight 4.
You loved A Star Is Born, and that's not original.
Pirates 4. I mean, these are bad. Cars 2, it was bad movies.
30 years earlier, in 1981, there was 9 of the top 10 were original stories, but yeah, it was 9 out of the. Is it all 10?
This is the top 9.
Holy cow! Okay,
We're all sequels.
what's number 10?
Thor.
Art. Oh, okay.
Thor. Yeah, and it's just bad because I mean, for me, I watch a lot of movies, and I'm going to see it whether I like it or not. And just the unoriginality and just some of these were just beating a dead horse, trying to drag money out of it, and it's frustrating because I like originality, I like storytelling and creativity, and 2011 offered very little of that. So. Sequel madness at the box office in 2011.
So this is not a positive entry on your list.
I mean, it is what it is. I'm not a big fan of redundant sequels. I'm not a big fan, especially because 2011 featured Harry Potter and Twilight both doing the let's take the last book and split it into 2 and try and make more money off of it. Let's make the last movie into 2 movies so we can double our money, and I think that's a cheap ploy that has become overused in Hollywood now by way too many hobbits. Exactly, Hunger Games. All these things are suddenly now like, let's split it and we'll make more money. And sometimes it backfires, and I kind of rejoice when it does. So, anyways, lots of sequels. 2011.
Lots of sequels.
There you
go. For my number 3, I've got something that Jameson already talked about, and that is Tiger Blood winning. Charlie Sheen. What a wild year this was. This is sort of like, I feel like we've seen the basketball version of this unravel with like the Jimmy Butler stuff. You're like, you can't believe what he's saying now, or what's going on. And every couple days it seemed like something crazier and crazier was going on with Charlie Sheen in his life. He was fired and replaced by Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah.
What a weird combination that was. Can you guys imagine any other famous Charlie Sheen roles where it was Ashton Kutcher instead?
Yeah, he'd be Wild Thing.
Yeah,
Ashton Kutcher
that's
comes
the
in.
one that comes to mind.
It's so weird. It
Dude,
was such
where's
a
my
weird
mitt?
year. Yeah.
So yeah, I think you already covered this one as well as we needed to. 2011, I think, for one of the biggest pop culture moments was Charlie Sheen's Sanity.
It was literally like Charlie Sheen watch every day.
Yeah.
What do you do now?
Yeah, he's on
Is he
Barbara
gonna-
Walters.
Is he gonna live?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on Barbara Walters. Like, check out the 2 porn stars I'm living with.
TMZ, and you're right about he didn't even need TMZ to follow him to find these crazy stuff.
Yeah.
He was just like, bring it on. I think
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
doing like Jay Moore interviews.
He's
too,
calling
a couple
into
times.
radio shows.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
That is correct.
And speaking of cocaine, Jeff Robbins, you are the cocaine of this show. Always giving us a big boost when we need it.
Wow.
Bump when I need one.
Let's promote the use of cocaine on the show. That's a great idea. My
Always
number.
in moderation.
Yeah, of course. Jeff's like, this is the last show, guys.
I hope you enjoyed doing the show. My number 3.
Yep.
Thank you for keeping me in check. My number 3, I'm calling the bad ideas of 2011. I got 3 for you.
Okay.
There was film released. You're talking about sequels and going to the well again and lack of originality. Disney put out a film in 2011 called Mars Needs Moms.
Yikes.
And it was actually based on a book by the creator of Boone County, Berkeley Breathed. Am I saying that last name right?
Obviously.
Is it Jobs?
With vigor.
And basically, this was the biggest Disney bomb of all time. It cost $150 million, and it grossed a grand total of $39 million. So they said, let's make a sequel to Cars, and let's make another one of those Toy Story films, and let's do that. So that's and then also in 2011. Netflix was doing really well for itself in 2011, and they said, hey, kind of like New Coke, things are going so well, let's change it up. So we're gonna become 2 companies. We're gonna do Netflix, which you know and love for all your streaming, and then our DVD rental service is gonna be called Quickster.
Yeah.
And we're gonna split them up into 2, and if you want to do both, we're gonna charge you twice as much.
What's Quickster doing today?
Quickster lasted about 3 months.
Right.
It went and it came and went in the year 2011. Netflix, which we all think of as a highly successful company, which it is, when Quickster was announced, 800,000 people canceled their subscriptions. 800,000. I'm sure somebody of my parents' age would be amazed that Netflix even had 800,000 subscribers. But anyway, and its stock lost half its value.
Yeah.
So before the end of the year, the CEO, Reed Hastings, said, you know what, I think that was probably a bad idea, and we're going to go back to how we've always done things, and that's served pretty well to them to this day, for them to this day. I'm surprised to hear that there's still 3.4 million people that are still getting DVDs by mail.
Yeah.
Do you still do that? You don't do that.
I've done that in a decade.
Yeah, I'm surprised that people are still doing that.
Blockbuster had a similar thing for a
They
while.
did. Yeah. See how that worked out for him.
But Netflix has 117 million streaming
They're
subscribers.
doing okay for themselves.
I bet what?
No, go
I bet you watch something on Netflix almost every day.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And I had and the other bad idea of 2011, Kim Kardashian said, "Hey, I'm going to get married to this guy named Chris Humphries."
NBA legend Chris Humphries.
And she got married, I believe it was in August of that year, to Mr. Humphries, and by October, it was over, and there was a ton of hype about that.
Drama.
A ton of drama, hype, and she got engaged in May 2011. He was playing for the New Jersey Nets. There was a 2-part TV special. Of course, it was all over the Kardashian reality show. And then after 72 days of marriage, he filed for divorce.
Is this political activist Kim Kardashian you're talking about?
If those kids can't make it, what luck do the rest of us have?
So that is my number 3 bad ideas of 2011.
All right. My number 2, I'm going to make this.
That just breaks my heart when Jameson just says, all right, yeah, whatever.
Hey, I'm just looking at the clock.
Not
sir.
interested.
I'm going to sit here and chat about Kim Kardashian for the next 18 minutes. I got a movie to talk about for the next one. My number 2 is a movie that is tremendous. It is a film called Warrior from director Gavin O'Connor. Stars Tom Hardy, Joel Edgerton, and Nick Nolte. Tom Hardy stars as a man named Tommy, who's this quiet, violent son of an alcoholic former boxer played by Nick Nolte, who comes back to town to train for this MMA tournament. His estranged brother Brendan, played by Joel Edgerton, enters the tournament as a way to earn money to save his house. And the movie has a lot of interesting dynamics between estranged couples. The dynamic between two brothers who don't talk anymore, and there's a lot of repressed anger with each other. You also have father-son dynamics. Neither one of them necessarily trust Nick Nolte. He's burned them in the past. He's been an absent father. He's a drunk. This film has some great MMA action in it. The fights are great. It's one of my favorite fight films. This came out the year after The Fighter, starring Mark Wahlberg, won a bunch of Academy Awards. I think this movie is twice the film that The Fighter was. I think The Fighter is horribly overrated. This one is very.
What about The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke?
I like that one a lot too.
Love that movie.
Yeah.
What about the song "The Boxer" by Simon and Garfunkel?
This movie is great. It's got a scene towards the end in this movie full of testosterone in the middle of an MMA fight. There's a scene at the end where every single time I watch it, I get choked up. I have to wipe the tears away because it's just so powerful. Nick Nolte was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for his role in this. He's great. If you need someone who looks like he spent his entire lifetime looking at the bottom of a bottle, go get Nick Nolte. He's pretty convincing in that role. So, anyways, I highly recommend Warrior. It's a very, very underrated film. So, there you go, my number 2.
How about The Animal with Rob Schneider?
Oh, that's a good one right there too. Yeah.
I'm a big Deuce Bigelow guy.
Big Deuce, everything. All right. Oh.
Uh-oh. You might have heard this before. It's the Bob Burgers theme. And I'm talking about funny debuts. Bob's Burgers is one of my funny debuts of 2011. As Jameson said, we talked about earlier, couldn't get into it right away, was not a fan, didn't like the idea, but now that I've seen it over the past few years, I think this is a very funny show. It's an underrated comedy cartoon. As I said, Tina is the best character. There's really good episodes where with them, the Belcher family and running Bob's Burgers, and there's a funny episode where I think it's Super Bowl themed where they don't have a TV, so everyone's going to go to the burger place across the street. Another one where they get a haunted house and the parents play this big trick on all the kids.
Every time the health inspector comes in, I love him.
Yeah.
Like, there's some odd characters.
The main guy at the regular
Yeah.
at the yes. I think this is a very, very good show. Also, Workaholics debuted in 2011.
Oh, dang.
It is the
missed
story
that.
of Blake, Adam, and Durs, guys, 3 I'll say stoners who work together and live together. And they just have a very different brand of comedy. I really love their sense of humor in this show. I think it's very different. My favorite episode, especially of this first season, is called Straight Up Juggahoes. Yeah. And they set up a coworker on a blind date that's at a ICP concert. Yeah. They are known as the Juggalos, and they love Faygo, and it's just funny to hear all of the negative connotations that you have towards Juggalos put into a TV episode. So anyone who knew ICP music, I thought this was a very funny episode, my favorite of the show. And I think if you graduated from the University of Madison in 2013, in the spring, that Durs, who is from Wisconsin, or at least went here for school, was the person who gave the big speech at graduation. The commencement speech, I believe, was Durs. Back in 2013. I have a couple
And he's
friends.
gone on, I mean, all of them for some form, but they've gone on to be big movie actors now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Adam's
Adam's
probably the biggest.
Right. And I always thought that he was just doing a Jack Black impression.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, he was very much doing a Jack Black
Sure.
impression, which I enjoyed in I think, the last season when it was revealed that Jack Black was his dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I never saw that.
The last season that his dad showed up and it was Jack Black.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this makes sense.
That does make sense. The way he twists words and says things in
the
a
way
certain
he
way
just says
or
things.
rhymes. Yeah. I can totally get that.
I would watch a lot of Workaholics, and because it paired nicely with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, very similar dynamic.
Okay.
Very similar type of comedy.
Yeah.
Just losers who think they're way better than everyone else, and they're just idiots.
They don't get it.
Yeah, but they're just pompous for no reason. Both of those shows were like my fall asleep at night shows every night. Like I'm just gonna click on Netflix, and it'll just roll through an entire season while I'm sleeping. It's great.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm glad you're on board with that. Workaholics and Bob's Burgers, the funny debuts of 2011.
Nice. All right, Jeff Robbins. No
Yeah.
pressure.
Why is there no pressure?
I'm just saying, no pressure.
We've already talked about my number 2, and my number 2 is the trials and tribulations and travails of Mr. Charlie Sheen in the year of 2011.
We have a trio. I like this.
It seems odd now to think back, but I mean, it seemed like every day in 2011 we were just fascinated by what Charlie Sheen was doing and what was the latest in the Charlie Sheen story.
Because there's things you'd never seen out of an A-list celebrity who is the star of the biggest show on television, the number one show on television, what seemingly seemed like sabotaging his career purposefully.
Right, so he was hanging out with a lot of porn stars, doing a lot of drugs. They had to, I mean, 2.5 Men was a big money making show.
Yeah,
it was a very successful show.
It was the anchor for them.
Not only the anchor of whatever night it was on, but probably the anchor of their entire network. Yeah. And they had to call production of the show. They basically had to call production off. Yeah, 2/3 of the way through the season.
That's insane.
He went on Charlie Sheen. This is like you said. Went on a battle with Chuck Lorre. Chuck Lorre put up a title card. He has those funny title cards at the end of his shows.
Pause it to read
and
it
says, one of them said, if Charlie Sheen outlives me, I'm going to be really pissed. And then Sheen shot back and called him a charlatan, a clown, a turd. And he said that he said he was the new sheriff in town. And I've defeated this earthworm with my words. Imagine what I would have done with my fire-breathing fists. Yes. You guys already talked about the whole Tiger Blood thing. And then in March he went on Twitter and he set a Guinness World Record for reaching 1 million followers faster than any user in the history of Twitter. He filed a $100 million lawsuit against Chuck Lorre and the network and Warner Brothers, demanded a raise from $2 million to $3 million an episode. Like you said, he went on tour. And then basically things started to calm down. Maybe he got a little bit of a sense back. Maybe went off the drugs.
He went into
rehab. A couple of other things that he did that were cute. He mentioned his in relation to his estranged wife. She said he had threatened to cut her head off, put it in a box, and send it to your mom.
Yeah.
And then also, of course, Denise Richards, his second wife. She accused him of physically and verbally abusing her and threatening her life, and of course there was a restraining order placed against him. Mm-hmm. And then I think it was actually even later that year, like by September of 2011, he was on the air doing interviews and saying, I'm not really sure who that guy was.
Yeah, wasn't that crazy?
Yeah, wasn't that a fun time?
What a
and then he went on to do this other show, Anger Management, on whatever it was, FX or whatever. Yep. And so we were just obsessed with Charlie Sheen in 2011, and that's my number 2.
Winning. So number 1. Okay. My number 1 is also movie related. 2011 saw 3 movies that I really enjoyed. 3 of the better films that year that all had one thing in common. They were all very quiet dramas. The first one was Drive, starring Ryan Gosling, Bryan Cranston, Oscar Isaac. Ryan Gosling played this mysterious stunt man and mechanic who moonlights as a getaway driver. He helped a lady because he was a nice guy and that landed himself in some serious trouble. This film was known to start a series of films that Ryan Gosling did with this director, which were silent and violent, where his character barely spoke a word of dialogue, and it was incredibly over-the-top violent. So Drive was the first one. The second one
I thought you said it was a quiet drama.
Yeah.
But it was over-the-top violent.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second one is Take Shelter from director Jeff Nichols, stars Michael Shannon as a father who's plagued by a series of apocalyptic visions. and he starts to slowly lose his touch on reality. He begins to prepare for this post-apocalypse in ways that don't make sense to anyone around him, specifically his family, his wife, played by Jessica Chastain. For my money, this was the performance of the year for Michael Shannon, and he barely was above a mumble in most of this movie. It was him just staring off into space, into the cornfields, as he saw things that no one else saw. It's what made me fall in love with Michael Shannon as an actor. Just tremendous. And Take Shelter is one of my 10 favorite movies ever. Just great film. And then, if you're talking about quiet dramas, Best Picture from that year was literally a silent film, The Artist. A silent film in 2011. Really an odd achievement to try and go for it, is to remake a film, but it's about the struggles in transition into talkies by an actor played by Jean Desjardins, who's a silent film actor. His talkies are coming. He doesn't know if he can handle it. He's also losing the love of his life. It was strange that they attempted this, and it was even stranger that it succeeded so well. It won Best Picture, Best Lead Actor, Best Director, Best Original Score, Best Costumes. Pretty much swept all the big ones at the Academy Awards that year, and very strange. I don't know that we'll see another completely silent film in the next 20 years.
Do you think how much money did The Artist make?
I don't know. It was successful. It wasn't like Blockbuster or anything.
Don't you think that that's one of the reasons they wanted Hathaway and Franco, because they were like, we got this stiff that's going to win these awards, that, a movie that nobody saw.
133 million.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Is that worldwide?
That's U.S. Or wait, no, I'm sorry. That's in dollars.
U.S. dollars. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was more of a response to the previous couple years of. That could be because it was that and Hugo were the two big movies that won all the Academy Awards, and Hugo was a throwback talking about 1918 cinema. It was definitely an older skewing movie, so that could be. It could be. Yeah.
Just a theory.
No,
I might
like
be
that.
totally wrong.
I like that, but yeah, that's anyways. That's my number one. Was 3 quiet dramas at the box office. The best movies of the year for me.
What about Bridesmaids? You didn't like it?
I liked it. It was on my list at one point. It was my number 9 originally.
Wasn't quiet enough.
Yeah, but it lost out. It got bumped.
They were pooping in sinks.
They were. Oh, boy, it taught me something. I know that. All right, Anthony.
Pooping in sinks.
Number 1.
For my number 1, I've got the final episode of Entourage.
Ooh.
I love this show. You guys used the phrase appointment television, right? You guys have used that before, I believe, on the show. This, for me, was appointment television. At HBO, Sunday nights, 9 o'clock, I was watching Entourage. I didn't get in until probably near the end of the second season. I think those early seasons showed a lot of promise. Those are my favorites. Wasn't always pleased with which certain ways the show went. And the last season wasn't my favorite with where they took some of the characters, but I absolutely adore this show. If we did It's Time for 5 episode about our favorite television characters, Jeremy Piven as Ari Gold would definitely be on my list. The main guys, Vinny Chase, Johnny Drama, of course, E and Turtle, kind of mirroring some of the Mark Wahlberg's Entourage. He was an executive producer, and you have who's who of every episode really has different cameos from actors or musicians or anything you can think of. And I went through and looked, and even people I didn't even remember being on the show were on the show. And you also had one of my favorite characters, director Billy Walsh, who was this eccentric artistic director who never quite had things his own way. But I love this show. They had Vinny Chase getting roles as Pablo Escobar and doing all these fun movies, and he was Aquaman at one point. Yep. Which then, of course, became a movie. Also, Sloane, Emmanuel Shariki, just a absolutely gorgeous lady. And
who's this?
Bai Ling also was on some few episodes. I like her. Who is what? The Entourage?
No, who's you said a gorgeous woman.
He heard gorgeous
Sloane,
woman. He popped his head up.
Emmanuel Shariki.
Yes.
She was also in Waiting. I haven't seen her in too much outside of Entourage as Ease.
She's no Ruth Buzzy.
No, if you are, she didn't have the purse to pull it off.
All right, did you guys like Entourage at all?
I had all the seasons on DVD, and when I was at work, I think statute of limitations is up. I would sit all day and just watch episodes of Entourage instead of doing work. Yeah, I don't think the boss can get me on that one. But I would literally spend 6 hours watching Entourage for like a month. I watched every season. I hated the movie though.
I have not seen it, and I know I'll be disappointed. And right now that was the end for me. I have not seen any more Entourage, but. I don't know how much more I want to ruin it because I wanted other things out of them. Yeah, and it took a dark turn at certain times that I thought was a fun direction or different than other parts of the show. But I wasn't huge on the where they went with it. But I did absolutely love this show, especially those first few seasons. I thought were so good. Ari Gold is gold.
Jeff, you got Entourage at number 1?
My number 1, 2011, is also the final episode of a television program. I'm talking about a show fronted by a woman who was named the greatest woman in American history in 2005 as part of a public poll for a TV documentary series called The Greatest American. She has been called the most powerful woman in entertainment, one of the most powerful women in the world, most influential woman and most influential black person of her generation. USA Today ranked Oprah Winfrey as most influential woman and most influential black person of the previous quarter century. She has been on the most influential people of the world Time 100 list 10 times, the only person to have been on that list 10 times. And I'm talking about Oprah Winfrey. She had her last show in May of 2011 after 25 years on the air. She called it quits in 2011, and it was the number 1 rated daytime show for all of those 25 years and consistently beat back whatever competition came her way.
The whole audience of people was disappointed that they didn't get cars on the final episode.
Yes.
They all said, oh, she's going out. We're all going to get cars. I know it. No such luck. Poor people.
What a wench.
Horrible. Hey, next week.
I think I'm surprised you guys don't have a little Oprah Winfrey love on your list.
Talk about Oprah on her debut.
But
you didn't
she
have
only gets 1. So next week we are going to be breaking from our tradition, and we're going to be talking about Halloween. Next week is going to be a Halloween episode.
Is that true?
Our top 10
I wasn't consulting on
favorite pop culture things that are Halloween related. That is up to your interpretation as a list maker. Anything pop culture Halloween related.
All right.
And then let's pull a year for the following week.
Sure, that's a great idea.
We're doing something different.
Yeah,
are we going to be in costume next week?
You are, for sure.
Just me?
I don't know, possibly.
Jeff, you're big on face paint, I hear.
I can't get enough face paint and
tiger blood,
taint piercings.
Toronto taint job.
Going back 1973.
So next week is Halloween. The following week we're talking about 1973.
If all my Halloween things are from 1973, can I just do the same list for both shows?
Yeah,
nice.
Just leave the list here and go home.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
We'll take care of it for you.
There you go.
All right,
folks.
Thanks, guys. It was a fun show.
It was a
2011.
Fun show. 2011. We'll see you next week on our special
Where can they find this?
edition.
Wait. Where can people find us?
You know what? I would, if you have Roku, there is a KSUN channel where you can watch this program at your leisure. You can also find us on Twitter @_PCTC.
What do you search on the Roku to get the channel?
KSUN. That's it. KSUN.
Or you can search Sun Prairie.
Okay, search Sun Prairie then.
Either one.
That seems like too much to type.
And you got all those A's and I's and R's. It's very complicated.
KSUN, watch us. Learn it. Love it.
What about Frony Radio?
Frony Radio on the YouTube.
That's right. Twitter. We're everywhere, man. You can't get enough of us.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks for listening to our episode about
I'll be
2011.
dancing. I'll be dancing at Heartbreakers this week, Tuesday and Wednesday in West Dallas. So check me out.
Pretzel pants on.
Yeah, seafood buffet that night too.